Hello, everyone. Welcome to Espresso Talk today. My name is Hans, and thank you for joining us. Today's episode focuses on the different holiday movies that the Espresso Talk Today team appreciates and have some thoughts about. We are also joined today by Barry to share his thoughts and opinions on the subject. So, grab an espresso and get comfortable for this uncommon episode. Let's listen in.
Hi, Marlene. Hi, Mel.
Hey.
Hi, Robin. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. And you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, and you, Marlene?
Pretty good. I'm in Houston this week, so that's exciting.
I'm so glad that we are all here, and we are joined by my good friend Barry. Welcome, Barry. I'm so glad that you're here today, too.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
This is going to be a lot of fun, because today we are going to talk about Christmas movies. Some of them are going to be Black Christmas movies, and others will be more, I guess you would call mainstream. But they're all our favorites. And that's one reason I'm really glad Barry's here, because he had some really interesting movies he wanted to discuss, but we all do. So, let's get started. Marlene, why don't you lead the discussion?
Well, my favorite movies for the holidays, my first one is The Year Without Santa Claus with the Heat Miser and the Snow Miser and Mother Earth. And, it's just a really fun movie because they're talking about not having Christmas, and it's cartoons, and there's all kinds of songs that are super fun, and it's a well-rounded family movie. My second one is The Wiz. I know most people won't realize that it's a Christmas movie, but it is Christmas in the beginning when they have the storm. So I'm counting that as a Christmas movie.
Great music in that, too.
Yes, definitely.
You have some Christmas movies you like?
Yeah, I do. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm very Christmassy. So it's really hard to choose a favorite. But I think I'm going to go with The Sound of Music. And it's just a classic movie, romantic, Austria in the wintertime. And yes, Nazis, but they get, they lose in the end. And, and then the other one was The Preacher's Wife. And that to me is just a really nice, wholesome story. And I like that it's centered around the church. And I love the all-black cast. And, I like seeing Denzel Washington in a comedic kind of role. I like that he plays an angel, which is a little bit strange to me that he's actually playing an angel. But Whitney Houston, when Whitney Houston's singing, you just
Definitely.
can't with that. And
There's no competition.
What'd you say?
There is no competition with Whitney Houston singing.
Absolutely not. And singing in the church and knowing that she started in the church too. It's that movie just feels so good to me. It's a good family movie. A little sappy,
But everybody needs a little sappy. So.
Well, 'tis the season. I agree. So, and what about you, Barry?
Well, my favorite two go-to movies are, of course, It's a Wonderful Life, and the other go-to is The Color Purple. Now, I know that isn't a traditional holiday movie, but it has all the themes of a holiday movie. Overcoming, some obstacle, being able to, survive in a particular situation, and then at the end, there's joy and there's thriving, and that's what really makes a good holiday movie to me.
Is there even a Christmas scene in that movie, though? I don't remember.
There are several. There's this scene where they're all at the dinner table when Celie, goes off on Mister. But that's a holiday scene. And there's another scene where Sophia is being driven home by Miss Millie and goes into the house to celebrate Christmas without her daughters and her children she hadn't seen in about 10 years, but only to get turned around and having to go back and drive Miss Millie back into town. So yes, it is. There are several Christmas scenes in that movie, actually.
But you make a really good point, though, about the various parts of a Christmas movie. And I think that there is nothing Christmassy about The Color Purple. And that, there was a pretty depressing movie, stunning performances, a very well told story. But I see what you're saying, though.
But not depressing at all. I mean, think of it. Think of the main actress, right? Celie starts off with a horrible life, winds up owning her own shop at the end of the movie, and also being free from Mister at the end of the movie. So she's happy. Think about Sophia. Sophia, has several children, winds up getting in prison, and then having to work for the woman whose husband she hit, and, which sent her to prison. But at the end of the movie, she finds her spirit again at the dinner table, at the holiday dinner table. She finds it, and she's able to reason all it out and say, hey, I'm happy. And then the other characters like Shug. Shug, for example, her big issue was, she wanted to seek the approval of her father, right? And so all throughout the movie, he ignores her, he shuns her, because of the choices she made in life. But then at the end, there's heartwarming compassion when he hears her sing. The tone of her voice and her singing, makes him, makes his heart melt, and and she runs into his arms. So that's all those things, and then there's more. All those things make for a wonderful traditional holiday movie.
Okay.
Well, I still don't know if I'm on board with that because if by those criteria, I could say a movie like the animated movie Meet the Robinsons. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't.
Well, that one's about a young boy and he's an orphan and he's extremely smart, but he keeps making inventions that make him not want to get it, or people not want to adopt him. And then in the end, of course, he finds his family and, stuff like that. Stuff goes right. And I think there's a Christmas tree in there somewhere, but I don't know if I would qualify that as a Christmas movie.
Well, that makes a good point. What is the definition of a Christmas movie?
I think the definition of a Christmas movie is any movie that makes you feel good over the holiday.
Oh.
Right. And so a movie that I'm watching in Christmas.
Whatever you're watching for Christmas or you like to watch during that holiday season, that's your Christmas movie. And it doesn't have to be, traditional in the traditional sense. But if it makes you happy, makes you feel fulfilled, makes you feel like you want to go out into the world and be good, then I think that's a good Christmas movie.
Well, that's a very, very interesting definition. And I think there's a lot of merit in that. My two favorite movies are Almost Christmas and It's a Wonderful Life. I think that's pretty universal. I like It's a Wonderful Life because it starts with the George Bailey, as a boy, and it brings him up into the man that he became. And I also like it because of the angel that was on the bridge when he was about to commit suicide after having some financial reversals. I like it because of that. And then I like the end where all the neighbors and family come together and make things right. And it ends on a very, very happy note. Now, Almost Christmas is a little different. It's about a Black family, and it centers around potato pie that the mother used to make. She was deceased, not so long ago, and she was not there to make the potato pie for Christmas. So the father decided to take on that responsibility. And he made many, many potato pies and never really got it right until the end. And the interesting thing about that is he got it right when everything was right. When the children had resolved their issues with each other, when the son, who was a great singer, came out so that everybody could see what he was interested in, what he was good at. And so it's like the potato pie surfaced when everything was right. It's almost like the mother was there kind of orchestrating the whole thing. And that's why I really like that movie. And potato pie, as you know, is very Black oriented. We all have potato pies at all of our celebrations. So,
my mother and I just made 4 sweet potato pies last night.
Yeah. See?
Oh my gosh, I'm coming to Houston.
But how you guys both chose It's a Wonderful Life. But then you both chose a very, very different second holiday movie. And I mean, Barry, for yours to be, The Color Purple on one end and It's a Wonderful Life on the other, how do you reconcile those two, or just like them?
Well, I like both of them. One, I like It's a Wonderful Life because it kind of it epitomizes the fragility of Caucasian Americans, right? I mean, think about it for a second. George Bailey in that movie starts off on a bridge. He's ready to jump and kill himself. Leave poor little Zuzu with all her little petals. And then the reason why he's willing to, he's wanting to do that is because he lost $8,000 that he couldn't find, and he thought that his life was ruined. To me, that speaks fragility, right? Because when you contrast that with The Color Purple, with all that Celie went through, with all that Miss Sophia went through, with all that Mr. had to deal with, those people were much more resilient, in the end, than people in This Wonderful Life. Now, don't get me wrong. This Wonderful Life is a great feel-good movie. It's, and I love it, even though I can't really relate to, the pool opening up and, the people on the dance floor, dancing and falling into the pool. I can't relate to that. And really, to a large extent, it's hard to relate to some of the things that George had so much going for him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He had a lot going for him. He had a business handed down to him. He didn't have to build a business. Really, all he had to do was run it and make sure it ran right. Of course, his thing that he wanted to do was go off and see the world, but he couldn't do that. He felt that he was tied to where he was, and maybe that was good, maybe that was bad, maybe that was just the way life goes. And so, It's a Wonderful Life in that sense it's very heartwarming. But again, I think the reason I watch it is because it really does show the fragility of the Caucasian race as compared to The Color Purple, that shows how resilient African Americans are in this particular society.
No, I definitely agree. But I mean, George he didn't just lose the money. I mean, it wasn't his Uncle Billy or something lost the money, but George was going to go to jail. And that's a pretty big deal but you still stick with that.
But it's still the fragility of it, right? So what? Sophia went to jail with The Color Purple. She went to jail for 10 years and then had to come out and work as a maid for the woman whose husband sent her to jail.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But still, at the end of that movie, she found joy being with her family at the dinner table. She said, "Oh, Sophia's home." When all people started arguing all this stuff, she was very happy to be around, her people. And so somehow in her being, there was some joy that she was able to find in that. Surely, if you think about old George Bailey, had he gone to jail, it wouldn't have been for those 10 years.
No.
and he wouldn't have had to go and work as the maid for the people that sent him. So that just wouldn't happen. So again, that's why I say, to me, that movie talks about the fragility of Caucasians as opposed to the resilience of African Americans.
Well, I guess in mine, I'm not seeing so much of that fragility, how they, were fighting off the Nazis and I mean, Nazism was just coming up in Europe at that time. And I guess it really follows this nun, who goes to work for a family, and she begins to fall in love with the person she's working for. And she goes back to the convent because she feels safer there, and then the head mother says, no, this is not a place for you to hide. You got to go out and live your life. And to me, I think that shows a whole lot of strength in her. But one of the other things too. Oh, go ahead, Marlene.
I was saying maybe the division is even more specific. Maybe it's gender,
Oh.
Because my thing is, if you were the word is escaping me, but a pastor or minister, yes, and he was fulfilling that role instead of her. Would they have forced him as much to go out and, figure things out, or would they think, let's wait on him and, help him figure this out step by step? I don't know, just something to think about.
Yeah,
Hard to
yeah,
say in that day
yeah.
and age.
What?
Say again?
It's hard to say for that time period.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I've noticed though, we each chose one movie that was, very, let's just say, for lack of a better word, a very white movie, holiday movie, so white kind of movie, and we chose a black movie. And I don't know was how this happened, but for me, when I was growing up, and I was watching, what is it, The Year Without a Santa Claus, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and all these movies, they were all white movies. Same with It's a Wonderful Life, and
Yeah.
it's been nice to see more representation, more black faces and black stories, over the years. Uh,
Definitely.
I mean,
I think.
go ahead. I'm sorry, Marlene.
No, your turn. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, and you're right. Over the past, I'd say 20, 30 years, perhaps, there have been a plethora of black holiday movies that have come out that have been very good. I mean, Almost Christmas is a great movie too. What I hate about black Christmas movies is sometimes they leave you hanging. For example, and It's Almost Christmas. A couple of things are going on. The husband, Lonnie, and his wife are about to get a divorce because Lonnie can't keep his hands off other women.
yeah,
Uh,
love Lonnie.
Son, who's the football player, his life may or may not take a turn. We don't know because he doesn't get off the substances because he's abusing some substances, and we don't know how that ends because they don't show us. And then there's the father who wants to sell his house but decides not to sell his house.
Big mistake.
Big mistake, right? Because real estate values ain't going up sometimes.
Right.
And then let's see who's the other character. Oh, and the other character who's dating this young man that she dated many many years ago.
Oh yeah, the law student.
Right. But again, we don't know how that turns out other than that last date they have, going to the prom, going to the makeshift prom. So it leaves us hanging a lot in those types of movies.
But in the future,
Well, I think that there were a lot of roads it could have taken after that. I mean, maybe sequels or whatever. But the main thing was that the family got together. There were issues still hanging from the children. And those children resolved those issues in some way. Maybe you didn't necessarily like the way it was resolved, but it was resolved. And the interesting thing is it was about relationships as opposed to say It's a Wonderful Life was about financial issues. So it's a real big difference. And the father wasn't selling the house because he needed the money. He was selling the house because it no longer served the family. At least that was his belief. He finally decided not to do that because the family became very, very close and important again. And that potato pie, helped to bring that in. But I see the differences. One, a financial issue, and the other a relationship issue. And that seems to be a way a lot of black movies tend to go with relationships as opposed to finances. I don't know if you feel that same way.
Well, I'd like to speak to that just because, as someone who's studied entertainment and film and been a part of that world for a long time, I think this difference speaks more to the fact that film, one, is actually a very, very new art form. I know it's been around for a few decades, but in retrospect and comparing it to other art forms such as art, sculpting, music, things like that, it's very new. And so there aren't a lot of traditions or standards. And when we're talking about the transition or the difference between white Christmas movies and black Christmas movies and how new black Christmas movies are, I see it as these movies trying to break out of this pattern and this framework that white Christmas movies have set up an expectation for. And so I understand there are a lot, to me, I agree, with you, Barry, that there's a lot of open-ended things, but I also think that's really common in a lot of Black movies. Like one that's coming to mind is This Christmas for me with so many wonderful people, but in that movie, there's a part where the son who got into a fight, who's also a veteran, who is also AWOL, he gets taken into custody because of that, and they send him back out on Christmas just to make his family happy and to, let the snow fall at the end of the movie. But then the question is like, is he going back to jail? Does the family accept his white wife? And I think that really is an effort on the part of the people who are producing these Black stories to really try and give the audience something different and really open that window up for more opportunity in the future. I don't know if it's a firm thing like this belongs in one category and this belongs in another. I think the White Christmas movie is the standard, and there are a lot of formats that they all fall into, and the Black movies are still trying to figure themselves out. That's what I see.
Yeah, but I think you're right, Marlene. There are contrasts with relationships and money. Like for example, if you think about Christmas Vacation, Robin, one of your favorite movies, that movie centers all around, I forgot his name, the main character, getting Clark getting a check from his company that is a bonus check, because he wants this bonus check so bad because he's got to build. He's already paid half the money to build this pool in his backyard. Yeah. And he wants this bonus check so bad that his cousin goes and kidnaps his boss. And at the end, it resolves itself like that. But you're right. But that movie, again, revolves, almost all around this check. It was a comedy, but it revolved around him getting this bonus check for Christmas.
I mean, that was just good writing. I mean, that's just good writing there. But but I was thinking about the Preacher's Wife, and I learned that is a remake from the movie called The Bishop's Wife, and who was in that? David Niven. I mean, it was from I think 1947. And in The Bishop's Wife, they were trying to raise money to buy a new cathedral church home. In The Preacher's Wife, they were trying to raise money to pay for a new boiler, for their church. And I mean, is that a real difference? I mean, did they make this more of a Black experience? They changed the story to make more of a Black experience that you're just trying to buy for your basic needs. Whereas, in the white story, they're trying to advance and grow and all of that. I mean, is that a big difference there?
That's an very interesting point, because in The Preacher's Wife, the boiler, yeah, they were trying to raise money for the boiler, but that didn't seem to be as important as the relationships that needed to be fixed. And the angel, came in to try to do that, to, fix those types of relationships. So I'm wondering, is that something, I mean, financial on one hand in the white movies, and I know you made that point, Marlene.
Well, what does that say about the goal of Black movies in anyway, or Black Christmas movies anyway, if they're all focused around relationships and building a stronger family? Does that speak to our progression, or does that speak to the white producers who are producing these movies saying that Black people need to fix their relationships? And that all white people have are financial and situational problems. What is that? That's what it makes me think about.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good point. What, the writers, what are they saying about, this? What are they telling us about ourselves? And are we buying it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't recall a Christmas movie, where a Black Christmas movie where the focus was centered around financials. I don't recall one like that. You're right. I think all the ones I've ever seen have all revolved around relationships, mending or relationships or whatever, or the renewing of relationships.
And don't be fooled. Just because these Black movies have Black casts and maybe even Black directors and maybe even Black writers, the TV networks and the producers are all white. they're all white unless you're talking about a Tyler Perry movie. And if you're talking about a Tyler Perry movie, it falls into a type and a category. And the only person who's writing on that movie for the most part is Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry.
We already know what hole that falls into. So.
Well, I was reading. This isn't about a Christmas movie, but this is, since you brought up, everybody is white who's making the movie. Jordan Peele, and he spoke about when he was writing, working on Us. He says here, I knew just by putting an African American family in the lead role, already we would be exploring cinematic, uncharted territory, even though this movie is not about race. And I felt that it was an important piece of the project to have a Black family in the center. It's important to portray Black families and Black people in general in films, not just because they're Black, but because they're real people. Mm-hmm. You think that applies to the Black movies? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I guess we won't see a movie like Black Caesar as a Christmas movie. Even though Black Caesar was about the drug dealer who turns out to be big in his community because he just got all the right connections and makes all the right moves. Maybe you're right, Marlene. Maybe the focus is on relationships to keep African American people away from the thought of moving forward economically.
Mm-hmm. And having real life problems.
Maybe you're right. Maybe that could be a very reason why Hollywood puts out those films the way they do.
And another thing is maybe even the fact that we have these Black Christmas movies may just be a way to put Black families at the forefront of a movie, and say that we did it. And maybe that's why we have so many Black Christmas movies with open ends and with unanswered questions at the end, because they didn't spend as much time on the actual storyline as they did recruiting an all-Black cast. Mm-hmm. Wow. I don't know, and that's not for everything, but that that's where my train of thought leads me. Mm-hmm.
But I do kind of have to disagree here. I mean, you guys have been watching maybe some of these Hallmark Christmas movies, right? Mm-hmm. And that's always, the single mother, and she is she's struggling, and she meets somebody who's going to be her savior in some way, a knight in shining armor, and or maybe they own a Christmas tree farm or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I do see relationships there, and it's not so much about money, but. I don't know of any Black Christmas films where they're focusing on, really, building a business or anything like that. Or wait, what about that one? What is it? Diva's Christmas Carol. With Vanessa Williams, where it's kind of the Christmas Carol story.
I've never seen that one.
Oh yeah, Vanessa Williams can play a really, really neat person. Yeah.
But then again, is that a new story? Is that a new script? It's just a take on an old one that was originally white, and we already know where it's going. You just put Black people on the front.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
But it is nice to see, Black actors getting work and Black faces on instead of just more.
I'd say it's a start. I'd say it's comforting, but it's only a start.
About Ebenezer Scrooge, that movie really was about him sharing his wealth, and opening his heart. That's what that was about.
Yeah, but like I said, that one's already been written.
Right.
It's not about something new.
That's true. Well, then if we maybe think about beyond movies, what other kinds of things can we come up with, where we hear more about the Black experience or something?
Mm-hmm.
Black plays. In the plays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right now, of course, in the COVID environment, nobody's going to plays, or there aren't any out there. But there are some Black plays, like Raisin in the Sun. Mm-hmm. It's also a movie, but the play is very good.
But I've seen that there is a collection of Black holiday stories too. I mean, you'll see more of those coming out too.
Yeah, you see more of those. As a matter of fact, I did some research on that, and I looked, and I couldn't believe how many new Black movies there are out there now. Mm-hmm. And I haven't seen most of them, but it's a lot more than it was a year ago.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think we're moving forward and we're making steps in the right direction. I just think we're not there yet.
No, no, definitely not there yet. But I am enjoying seeing, more black families in these, holiday kind of stories. And so, well, was there anything
Maybe,
else?
maybe what we need to see going forward with respect to black holiday movies is, black people advancing somehow economically, in those movies. That would be lovely to see because really, when you think about movies, it's a portrayal of where you want to be or where you want to be. It helps you to dream bigger, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Uh, and so maybe that's what we lack. I'm gonna leave it to Marlene to go in and make the right kind of movie.
Oh, trust me, I will. Just give me some time. But that's so interesting. I think we actually have a couple poems that we'd like to read. Mel, I know you have one. Would you like to share it with us?
Yes, I would. I have a poem. It's called The Sermon in the Cradle. And it's from the book A Treasury of African American Christmas Stories
Oh, nice.
by Betty Collier Thomas. And this is something we can do during the Christmas is read some of these Christmas stories. But this is one called The Sermon in the Cradle, written by W.B. Du Bois in about 1921. And for those who don't know W.B. Du Bois, he was the founder of the NACP. He also wrote a famous book and story called Famous Book of Souls of Black Souls. So anyway, I
Second,
suggest.
I think Barry, excuse me, Barry has to leave. So I just wanted to say goodbye to Barry. It's nice to meet him too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, he ran out.
Okay. You want to start me back where I started on W.B. Du Bois?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Now? Yeah, this poem was written by W.B. Du Bois. He was the founder of the NACP, and he wrote a very, very famous book called The Souls of Black Folks. I highly recommend it. This poem was written in 1921 when Nigeria was under British rule. Sermon in the Cradle. Now, when Jesus was born in Benin of Nigeria in the days of the English rule, behold, there came a wise man from the east to London, saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Blacks? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him." When the prime minister had heard these things, he was troubled, and all England was with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scholars of the land together, he demanded of them, "Where is this new Christ, and where should he be born?" And they said unto him, "In Benin of Nigeria, for thus it was written by the prophet. And though Benin in the land of Nigeria was not the least among the princes of Africa, far out of thee came the governor that shall rule the Negro people." Then the prime minister, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star should appear. And he sent them to Benin and said, "Go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also." When they had heard the premier, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and medicine and perfume. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to England, they departed into their own country in another way, save one, and he was black. And his own country was the country where he was. So black wise men lingered by the cradle and the newborn babe. The perfume of his gift rose and filled the house until through it and afar came the dim form of years and multitudes. And the child, seeing the multitudes, opened his mouth and taught them, saying, "Blessed are poor folks, for they shall go to heaven. Blessed are sad folks, for someone will bring them joy. Blessed are they that submit to hurts, for they shall sometime own the world. Blessed are they that truly want to do right, for they shall get their wish. Blessed are those who do not seek revenge, for vengeance will not seek them. Blessed are the pure, for they shall see God. Blessed are those who will not fight, for they are God's children. Blessed are those whom people like to injure, for they shall sometime be happy. Blessed are you, black folk, when men make fun of you and mob you and lie about you. Never mind and be glad, for your day will surely come. Always the world has ridiculed its better souls.
Wow.
Wow, that was very nice.
I didn't know that he wrote any poetry. He was a real scholar.
Yeah,
I actually.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I have another one.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Sure.
another one. Great.
This one's called A Carol of Color from the same book. I may not sleep in Bethlehem. Your inns would turn me back because, said Balthazar, unsmiling, my skin is black. I may not eat in Bethlehem. Your inns would frown me down because, said Melchior, uncomplaining, my skin is brown. Alone I ride to Bethlehem. Alone I there alight because, cried Gasper, all unheeding, my skin is white. Not one, nor two, but three they came to kneel at Bethlehem, and there a brown-faced Christ child, laughing, welcomed them.
Oh, wow. That's
Wow.
amazing. That's an amazing poem.
It sure is. The Black Jesus. I love that.
Yes.
Around Jesus, yeah.
Brown Jesus.
Right, right.
No, very nice poems, really. And yeah, I like W.B. Du Bois's, how he kind of brought in kind of Bible talk, biblical talk too, and really made it specific to the Black community.
Yeah, he's a very, very important writer, and I highly recommend this book of African American Christmas stories by Betty Collier Thomas. I think people would really enjoy reading that, and during Christmas, it's the perfect time now to get involved and purchase one of these.
It sure is. And then your poem brought up about the wise men too, and then the brown Jesus. I mean, you don't see that in most books.
You don't. You definitely don't.
Well, but anyway, I guess I've long since finished my espresso.
I thought you were getting the bigger cup.
I did.
Oh my god.
This conversation was so interesting, and then the poetry was so good. I just, had to stick around. So, anyway, it was nice to meet Barry too. I hope he'll join us again another time.
I do too. It was really great hearing his insights. So I finished my pot of black tea.
I finished my decaf ginger and lemon tea.
I may have to switch to cider, soon. Try to cider or something. So
nice.
The time of the year for that.
It is. So anyway, I guess we better maybe we can wrap it up and see us again. Meet again next week.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, I totally love that movie, The Year Without a Santa Claus. Since childhood, I love that movie.
It's great. It's great.
Okay, guys, stay safe.
You too.
You too.
I will. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Espresso Talk today. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation by the Espresso Talk Today team and Marlene's friend, Barry, who joined us. So, let's have some after coffee thoughts. The group talked about their favorite holiday movies. Barry's favorite holiday movies are The Color Purple and It's a Wonderful Life. He compared the two movies and felt that The Color Purple showed the strength and resilience of African Americans, particularly black women. However, he felt that It's a Wonderful Life displayed weakness and insecurity in white people, particularly the opening scene where George Bailey was contemplating suicide because of his financial problems. The group did recognize, though, that It's a Wonderful Life showed strength and love in a community to help each other. This was also shown in The Color Purple. Robin asserted that her favorite holiday movie, The Preacher's Wife, showed the importance of the black church and spiritual matters, but also as a central connection for the community. Similarly, Marlene's favorite holiday movie, The Wiz, while keeping the general theme of The Wizard of Oz, incorporated black culture through its music, actors, and subtle script changes. At the end, the group discussed other forms of entertainment besides movies. Mel and Marlene each read a black holiday poem from the book, A Treasury of African American Christmas Stories. Marlene read a poem by Mary Janice, who presented the different ethnicities of the three wise men in their struggles. Both poems presented a black Jesus, which was very controversial. Now, we have some questions for our audience. What is your favorite holiday movie? Do you think that black holiday movies focus on relationships while white holiday movies focus on financial issues? What did you think of the black holiday poems read by Mel and Marlene at the end of the show? There is so much more to discuss, so please don't leave us now. We really want you to join this conversation. We are inviting you right now to join us on Facebook at the Espresso Talk Today Forum or on Twitter at Espresso Talk Today. You can also visit our Espresso Talk Today YouTube channel to watch short educational videos. We are anxiously awaiting your thoughts and opinions. After all, this is a place for thinkers. Well, that's all for this week. Be sure to join us again next week for another uncommon conversation that is full of information, inspiration, and passion. You do not want to miss it. You can listen to our episodes on our website, expressotalktoday.com, or on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Next week, we will definitely have another interesting talk. So, be sure to bring your espresso. You might even want a double. See you next time. Ciao.